fire. Na chainam kledyante apo. It cannot be wetted with water, nor it can be dried with the wind. Na shosheti marutah. But we have been given this freedom to choose Krishna
Vasudevat Paro
freedom, that free will is there.
Brahman.
We can understand this from a small
Nachanyo
analogy from
arthosti
Ramayana.
tat
Sita Devi represents the Jiva who has come to this
Dravyam
world.
karma cha kalascha
When she is attracted to the golden deer,
Swabhava jiva eva cha.
and when attracted to the Maya, then Ravana,
Vasudevat
who is
Paro
Dashanaka,
Brahman. न चान्योऽर्थोऽस्ति तत्त्वतः द्रव्यं कर्म च कान्योऽर्थो न चान्योऽर्थोऽस्ति तत्त्वतः parcels of the personality of Translation. The five elementary ingredients of creation, the interaction thereof set up by eternal time, and the intuition or the nature of the individual living beings are all differentiated parts and parcels of the personality of Godhead Vasudeva. And in truth, there is no other value in them. In phenomenal world, this phenomenal world is impersonally the representation of Vasudeva, because the ingredients of its creation, their interaction, and the enjoyer of the resultant action, the living being, are all produced by the external and internal energies of Lord Krishna.
This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7.4 and 5. The ingredients, namely earth, water, fire, air and sky, as well as the conception of material identity, intelligence and the mind, are produced from the external energy of the Lord. The living entity who enjoys the interaction of the above gross and subtle ingredients as set up by the eternal time is an offshoot of internal potency with freedom to remain either in the material world or in the spiritual world. In the material world, the living entity is enticed by deluding nescience, but in the spiritual world, he is in the normal condition of spiritual existence without any delusion. The living being is known as the marginal potency of the Lord, but in all circumstances, neither the material ingredients nor the spiritual parts and parcels are independent of the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. For all things, whether products of the external, internal or marginal potencies of the Lord, are simply displays of the same effulgence of the Lord, just as light, heat and smoke are displays of fire. None of them is separate from the fire. All of them combine together to be called fire. Similarly, all phenomenal manifestations as well as the effulgence of the body of Vasudeva are his impersonal features, whereas he eternally exists in his transcendental form called Satchidananda Vigraha, distinct from all conceptions of material ingredients mentioned above. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna. So I welcome everyone to the daily morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. One time, just one day before the marriage, the groom received a message on his phone that हमारी शादी नहीं हो सकती क्योंकि और कहीं फिक्स हो चुका है. So he was totally shocked and surprised. He immediately messaged कि
हॉल बुक हो चुका है, कार्ड छप चुके हैं और शेरवानी भी आ गई है, अब क्यों नहीं हो सकती? So immediately he got a reply from the bride that sorry, I sent message to you by mistake. Message was supposed to be sent somewhere else. Similarly, the jiva in this material world has dialed the wrong number, sent a message to the wrong place. He is supposed to be with Krishna and the jiva has come here. So in this chapter, the chapter is entitled The Cause of All Causes, Sarva Karana Karanam. So Narad Muni is inquiring to his father that I see that this material, whole material creation is just like a walnut in the grape of your palm. And I see that you almost create independently, just like a spider who makes its own web from its own body saliva. So Brahmaji accepts, yes, I seem to be the biggest person, the most powerful, with no one above me. But then he says, I do also have a creator. There is a creation before me also. And then he explains from this verse onwards, verse 14 onwards, this our material world where we are, and step by step verses he will explain. So in the Sattvat Tantra, a verse comes, Vishnus through Trini Rupani. There are three Vishnus. One is the Mahavishnu who creates a Mahat Tattva, just like a dough for a cake. Everything is inside, all the materials are there. Then there is Garbhodakshai Vishnu who enters each and every universe. And there is Kshirodakshai Vishnu, the third one, who enters between each and every atom of this material world. So there are total 24 material elements which the Sankhya philosophers analyze. The 5 Gyanendriyas, knowledge acquiring senses, eyes, nose, ears, touch, taste, like that. Then there are 5 working senses, mouth, hands, legs, and openings for excretion. Then there are 5 sense objects, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, for the eyes, for the ears, for the nose, for the tongue. And then 5 gross material elements as mentioned in the purport, earth, water, fire, air, ether, and 3 subtle, mind, intelligence and ego. So all of these comprise total 24. And this is what is material world made up of. And the jiva has landed up in this material creation. In the early days of our movement, Srila Prabhupada one time called a devotee and he wanted to convey a message to him. He said, bring the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then when the first canto was brought, now the second one is going on. But the first canto has the picture of whole in this universal creation. In the spiritual world, our movement, the lotus in between. Srila Prabhupada one time called a devotee and he wanted to them how convey a message to him. He said, bring and then he said, this is the 3 quarters of the Lord's creation. What Lord has created. 3 Pada Vibhuti. And this material world is Eka Pada Vibhuti. 1/4 of the creation is this material world. And in this material world there are many, many universes, which even one universe is not able to be fathomed by any scientist. And in this universe, in one of the universes, there is one tiny planet called Earth. Very, very tiny, just like a mustard seed, because there are many, many huge big planets compared to the size of the Earth. And on this Earth, there are 7 continents. And among the 7 continents, one is North America, where there is this Los Angeles. And in this Los Angeles, there is a big street called Long Boulevard. Long street with trees around. And there is a church. And that church has been converted to a Hare Krishna temple. And in that temple where there are so many devotees, there is one devotee who feels that he is very, very powerful and important. So that devotee is
really small, that such a big universal creation, and among so many, I am just one and I feel so much big controller.
So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhumi Rapo Analo Vayu Kham Mano Buddhi Revacha, that there are 8 all these elements which we discussed, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. So the jiva, bhinna prakriti rashtata. This material world is, Krishna is saying, is bhinna, a separated part of my, this is not the main part of my creation. And the jivas, we have got stuck in this material world. And today's purport explains that actually, in the true sense, we are made up of the unborn material, not this material body, the material which is unborn. And we are always spiritually situated. Bhagavad Gita mentions, Nainam chindanti shastrani. This soul, spirit soul, cannot be cut with the weapons. Nainam dahati pavaka. It cannot be burnt with fire. Na chainam kledyanti apo. It cannot be wetted with water. Nor it can be dried with the wind. Na shosheti maruta. But we have been given this free will, freedom to choose Krishna or Maya. That freedom, that free will is there. We can understand this from a small analogy from Ramayana. Sita Devi represents the jiva who has come to this world. And when she is attracted to the golden deer, that is the Maya. And when attracted to the Maya, then Ravana, who is Dashanan, having 10 heads, so our 5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses, he kidnaps Sita and puts her in Lanka, which is this body. Body represents Lanka, which is situated in the ocean, in the middle of the ocean. So we are in this ocean of birth and death, Bhava Sagar, like that. And then Sri Ramchandra, he understands that this jiva has a free will, so whether he wants to come back to me, so he has to send a third party messenger, go and try to understand the mood of the jiva, whether he wants to come back to me or wants to stay in the golden Lanka, Swarna Lanka. So then Hanumanji, Ramdut, he is the third party messenger who goes to Lanka and asks. And Griva means neck, and so he is Gurudev, he gives the spiritual instructions, he sends the messenger. And then Vanar Sena comes, Vanara, whether human being or a monkey. Similarly, devotees are there. They look just like normal human beings, but they are mentally in the spiritual world. So the Vanar Sena comes and takes us back from Lanka from the material world to the spiritual world. So, but only the jiva, he has to say that I want to come back. Normally what happens is, मुझे यहाँ से निकालो मत, मुझे यहाँ से निकालो बाद में. So the jiva himself is not willing to come back to the spiritual world. There's a story which comes. Narad Muni, in the beginning of Kali Yuga, he was moving around India, Bharat, and he saw that there are crores of people in Rath Yatra, there are lakhs of people in Rameshwaram, lakhs of people in Kumbh Mela, lakhs of people in doing Giriraj Parikrama. So he goes to Narayan and asks whether so many people are doing so much spiritual activity. Can I bring them to the spiritual world? Will you accept? So Narayan says, you are a pure devotee, and whoever you recommend, I'll accept. Sure, you bring them. So Narad Muni happily goes to the material world and says, come, we are all going back to the spiritual world. So everyone says, no, we have some business pending here, our kids are small, our kids not still grown up, they are doing. So everybody is busily engaged. Finally one person, he says, okay, chalo, I am coming with you. But in the middle of the way, he asks, so when are we coming back? Return ticket kab ye? Arvind says, no, we don't come back. Yad gyatva na nivartante. One never comes back. He said, ठीक है मैं बाद में I'll come back later. So even that one person does not wish to go to the spiritual world. So that is the condition of the jiva over here. And one time Srila Prabhupada received a letter from one of the disciples. He said that we have set up a book table and many people are interested in our books. And how we do it is, we have two tables. One table we have prasad
and first we give them prasad, and then they come to the next table and they take books, and they are so much enjoying the prasad and they want the book so much, so they take more and more books because they do not know whether they will get those books back again. So Srila Prabhupada heard that letter and then he replied, yes, that is our mission. Stomach full, hands full with books and purse empty. So this is the Vanar Sena. Vanar Sena is trying to call the Jiva back to the spiritual world. But the Jiva chooses to stay in the golden Lanka. कहीं building, कहीं motor, कहीं tram है, कहीं मिल. मिलता है सब कुछ यहाँ, एक मिलता नहीं दिल. You get everything over here. Big buildings, motor cars. As Prabhupada says, the glitter of this material world. But you don't get bhakti. Very difficult to get bhakti. Very difficult to get spiritual world. So the unwilling jiva is finally given, he is put in the jail of this material world and given a dress. Like every criminal gets a dress. So we get 84 lakh types of dresses. Vishnu Puran says, Jalaja Navalakshani, Sthavara Lakshavimshati. There are in the water species, there are Jalaja 9 lakhs of types of water species. Then Sthavara Lakshavimshati, like trees and plants, there are 20 lakhs. Krimayo Rudra Sankhya, the insects and reptiles, there are 11 lakhs. Pakshinam Dasha Lakshanam, all the birds are 10 lakhs. Trimshal Lakshani Pashava, all the animals are 30 lakhs. And 4 lakhs types of humans. Chatur Lakshani Manushya. So, all these 84 lakhs of species or dresses once one gets, and then one comes to this human form of life. And then they are given all the remembrances of all their desires, karmas, whatever they had from previous bodies, previous lives, which they can use. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur also sings, Bhuliya tumhare samsare asiya, peye nana vidha vyatha, tomar charane ashiya chiyami. Boli bo dukhir katha. He is saying that forgetting you, O Lord, bhuliya tumhare samsare ashiya. I came to this material world, but now I am coming to your lotus feet because boli bo dukhir katha. There is so much of troubles in this material world. Bhagavad Gita also mentions how the jiva falls in this material world. Ichha dvesha samuttena dvanda mohena bharata. By desire to enjoy, to become independent controller, enjoyer, proprietor. Just like small girl is there and she says to the mother, I also want to cook. So then the mother gives a small chapati making machine, small, everything small, and that is her kitchen. But when the girl gets hungry, she goes to the mother, give me food. So that is our real pleasure. So this material world, these dresses are given to us due to our desire to enjoy and hatefulness for the spiritual, for seeing how only one entity, Krishna, is the enjoyer. And even in the third canto, Jai Vijay episode, the 4 Kumaras, when they are offended by the Jai Vijay, they say this in the purport that this spiritual world is not meant for criminals. They actually use this word and they say the criminals are supposed to be sent in the material world. So that is the case. But so they cannot stay. One time in Nasik, we were having this book distribution, but only the Back to Godhead magazines, the small Bhagavad Darshan magazines, thin, and about 50-60,000 magazines we were planning to sell, and they were about just 5 rupees each. So we were in the Kumbh Mela, and we were at there's this Lord Ram temple, Kala Ram temple, and one of the devotees was distributing Kumbh Mela, so many books were going, they were just flying, but then he had to go to washroom, and so then he kept all those books under a tree and then covered them with a saffron cloth. He had a saffron cloth and went away. And he came back about 5 minutes later just to find that there is about 50, 60, 70 people in a line doing aarti, puja to that saffron thing, putting red kumkum and agarbatti. So then he tried to take it. He said, Maharaj, हमारा पूजा पहले खत्म होना है. You cannot take it away. So people are bewildered. They make their own ways how to worship, and somehow we were able to finally take those books. We explained that this is something different what you are thinking. So the person feels similarly in this material world, wrongly understanding that sense enjoyment is the goal of life. This is all due to attachment. So Shankaracharya ji, in one of his books, Viveka Chudamani, he mentions there are 5 types of living entities: Kuranga, Matanga, Patanga, Bringa. So there is this deer, there is elephant, there is this insect who is attracted to the fire, and Bringa means the bumblebee. So all of these have one sense which is very prominent. Different. Deer, he is attracted to the listening to music. So the hunter catches him, and that is the cause of his death. One sense, just the ear. The elephant is attracted to the touch senses, and that's how the huge elephant is caught by the person. Then Kuranga, Matanga, Patanga, the insect is attracted to the light, just eyes. So he also ends up leaving his body. Matanga, Patanga and Bringa, the bumblebee, it is said that they can penetrate a wood, hard wood, but due to the sense of fragrance, they go in the lotus, and the lotus closes at night and they die. So what to speak of the humans who have all the 5 senses fully strong? So death is certain. They said, Na sevate panchabir pancha sa katham na hanyate. Why will he not land into problems? So there was one person who was reading some books in library. So one time he found one book which mentions that there is this stone called touchstone, and when you touch that stone to iron, it makes everything, all iron, into gold. And then he found a secret address. They are all found in Hawaii Beach. He said, fine, let me go there. So he goes to the Hawaii Beach, and then it was mentioned that all touchstones looks like normal stone only, but they are slightly warm. That is the distinguishing thing. So then he goes, he finds that this stone is cold, so he takes it, throw it in the sea, and then he takes the next one. So like this, so that he does not have to see through all the stones again. Pick it up. So like this, in all the species of life, in cockroach life, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, throw. In dog life, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, throw. In tiger life, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, throw. Then the parasmani comes, touchstone, and he does not realize. Human life, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, throw. So this human life, which is so precious, is also finally thrown and wasted. And why this happens? Because it is all Maya. Maya, Prabhupada defines as that which is not. In Marathi they say, Dasa dista, dasa nasta. Manuntar drag, nasta. So, that is, but still the jiva feels, hum hoge kamyab ek din. One day, I'll be successful. Of course, we do say in our lectures that this material world is dukkhalayam. Just like there is a pustakalaya where there are books, there is madiralaya where there is drinking liquor. So similarly, Himalaya, there is snow. So dukkhalaya. But it does not, this matter got clear to me after many years, just few days back. I used to think, so are we not supposed to be happy at all in this material world? Are we supposed to be always sad? Because if we eat something nice, we feel good. If we listen to some nice music, we feel good. If we see something nice, if somebody talks nicely to us, we feel good, happy. So then, how is it that dukkhalayam? I mean, are we not supposed to enjoy life? So, but then it is said that we can be happy, but it is for the time being. We should not get carried away by that, either by happiness or distress. Like Bhagavad Gita also mentions, Yam hi na vethan tete, purusham purusha rishabha, sama dukkha sama dhiram. Dukkha and sukha dukkha dhiram,
sa amrit tattvaye kalpate. So just like there was a patient, he was a heart patient, so he got a lottery of 10 crores. So he didn't come to know, his house people came to know. So they told the doctor that we have to reveal this to this person, but we are afraid that once we say ki aapko lottery mila, so he might get a heart attack. So then the doctor said, don't worry, I will slowly explain to him. So then doctor went to him. He said, suppose, my dear patient, you win a 10 lakh lottery, what will you do? He said, don't joke with me, I'm a heart patient. Did I win the lottery? He said, no, I'm just asking, suppose. He said, okay, I will put all that in the bank. He said, okay, suppose if you get a 1 crore lottery. He said, 1 crore, okay, I will go for a vacation, I'll do shopping, I'll enjoy. He said, okay, if you get the 10 crore lottery, he understood that doctor is just increasing the amount. He said, no problem, 50% I'll give to you. The doctor got a heart attack. He said so the point is, one should not be too much bewildered by happiness and distress of this material world. He has to be focused. And still the threefold miseries come to us in this world. The threefold miseries, they come because it is just like one of the students was explaining. He used to come from college and take prasad. So he used to be so hungry, he used to be just looking at the plate and for prerna and all that. So all the nice menu which is coming. The only time he used to look up when the item was not enough or something which was not expected. Then he used to look up at the who is serving. So that's the way when we get problems in this life, we ask the question, oh, this world is not meant for me. So who is the controller? How do I get out of it? So that is the role of the miseries of this material world. It is in Hindi there is this dukh mein sumiran sab kare, sukh mein kare na koi. Sukh mein sumiran jo kare to dukh kahe ko hoy. So we have to remember the Lord always, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, mamai vamsho jivaloki. The souls in this material world are mine. My anshas, mamai vamsho jivaloki. So it is said that each one's life is like a book, and this book has about 80 to 100 chapters, and each chapter has about 365 pages, and we have to write nicely, because if we just scribble, we write anything, at the end of the life, the book we have is not legible, not of any use. So we should try to write in good ink, good words, nicely. So, but normally what happens, the jiva compares himself with others. He is doing so much, that person has so many nice qualities, or so much money they have. Comparing. So one forgets to write his own story. He is always desiring, thinking. It is just like the marathon runners, usually what they do, I have heard, is that because they run for very long, so those who are experienced, they carry their own watch. They keep their own timing, and they compare with themselves, ki this much kilometer I ran in this much time. They don't see, there are some few people might be running at full speed. So they cannot compare with others, how much fast the others are running. So instead of trying to chase success and happiness, it is better to chase our own purpose. It's very easy to get carried away by all the glitter of this material world. Just like Arjun was there. So when his son Abhimanyu was killed, it was not that he stopped fighting. He had a purpose and he continued fighting. Whereas Dronacharya, when his son wasn't even killed, but still when he just heard that Ashwatthama is not there anymore, he left all the weapons. So that is the case. There's a story, a real life thing. There was a person called Viktor Frankl during the World War II times. He was imprisoned in one of the Hitler's camps, basically inmates, concentration camp, if you know something about Hitler's thing. So then death was all around him, and all his family was there. So many people, lakhs of people were there. He was tortured, beaten, worked put till the brink of death. No food, enough food was given to them. No proper clothes and shoes were given. It was so freezing cold. And people were dying all around him. His father, his mother, his brother, his wife, all died. But then how he was able to tolerate all this? He survived. He wrote a very famous book. And that's how he got famous because of that. So he said, he observed that there were two types of prisoners. One type of prisoners were that they lost all hope in life. And they felt that this is just their destiny. They are going to be tortured and they are going to die. But there were some prisoners who felt that no, they wish to live. They wish to survive for a higher purpose in life. So that's why it is said that instead of knowing just what to do and how to do, that everyone should know, but why to do things. To do what is fine, but why we do what we do, why we do how we do, that's important. So he wrote this book called Man's Search for Meaning. And also in my personal life, one time I was doing Aarti for the Lordships in the evening, and so many messages came to me that your mother is calling, your mother is calling, many years back, around 2011. So I understood that there is something serious because I never used to get so many calls in within half an hour. So I finished the Aarti finally and then went back and called my mother, and she said that my younger brother, Anuj ka helicopter gir gaya. My brother is in the army. So I could not relate to it. What exactly? She said, no, he has met with an accident and he's admitted in somewhere in Chandigarh. So then I called up my brother. He said, now I'm in hospital, I'm okay. So I went there to meet him. He told me his story, what exactly happened. So usually helicopters are used for carrying huge loads, materials, food materials, eatables, whatever requirements from one place to another. So he was posted in these Himalayas, very freezing temperatures. And at one point of a time, everything became just white. He could not see. The visibility became very poor in that location. And his helicopter just nosedived. Straight it went. There are these huge openings in the rocks which are called as crevasse. So the whole helicopter, it didn't go horizontal, it didn't go sideways, it took a straight nosedive straight inside. And it was so deep that from the horizontal vision you could not understand that there is something gone inside. So he took those materials he was going, and then the people who were going to be delivered those goods, they were asked by their superior, what happened? The helicopter came. So they phoned up the base from where the helicopter was supposed to come. They said, Saab nikal gaya kabhi ka, the helicopter has already left and it's already long time, it should have reached. And then the people also said, yes, we saw one helicopter, but we think it went back. But it hadn't gone back, it had gone inside the crack in the Himalayas. Totally disappeared. The good thing was, normally what happens in such cases, that these flying machines, they have this so much of fuel, inflammable, high energy fuel, that it gets inflamed and that's how the death occurs. But that didn't happen. So it's like Hindi mein they say, Asman se gira khajur mein latka, something like that. So he was stuck, but it was in such a, nothing could be worse than that. The whole cockpit had crushed into his chest, and the helmet which he was wearing, the mask, it had dislocated and it was pressing against his nose and even the mouth. He was speaking just part of his, like this, I want to speak like this. He could not breathe. He had a co-pilot also, but he was just stuck. His one hand was stuck, but he could not do anything for my brother. In fact, he also took some photographs of himself in that situation because his one hand was free of the co-pilot. But my brother was in really precarious situation. He could not breathe. The whole thing was pressing against his chest, and his hands had become totally blue because of the pressure. He could not breathe, he could not speak, and his leg had, somehow the helicopter had opened from bottom and his leg had stuck in the ice, freezing ice. So it had become totally numb and paining. So he says in his words that I gave myself about half an hour to live, something called as willpower. So will to live. Otherwise, the person leaves the body. So then finally a search team came and they understood that there's a helicopter there. They immediately took a rope, came down, and they were trying to save the other pilot. The other pilot said, no, this guy is more serious. Save him first. So then they were trying to pull my brother out of the seat. So he said, there are straps on my seat. First take a knife and cut those straps. Okay, then they cut, because those people who came, they didn't know so much about the helicopter, so much. And then they were trying to pull. He said, no, my leg has become one with the snow. Usually that happens with the, so you break the snow first. First remove my helmet so that I can speak properly. I can't even breathe. So then finally they put a rope around him and pulled him hard. They pulled him, and he says that my whole body was totally numb, just like a doll, like a cotton doll. And they didn't even see, so I was just banging on the rocks. One rock just hit, and then he came out. He said, "देखता हूँ तुम लोग को ऊपर तो आने." And then I mean he's joking. And then finally he came up. He was giving all these instructions while he is almost dead. He said, "Okay, now rub my hands and take my hands in your armpits and make them warm." And then finally he was taken to this hospital. So the point I'm saying in this class is, the free will is very important. One has to decide how one has to search for a proper purpose in life, higher purpose. If one does not have a higher purpose, then it is very difficult to continue through all the problems, all the threefold miseries this material world has to offer. One can easily just throw that stone, the touchstone also, this human form of life. So it is just like, suppose if someone has just given all the facilities, he has a house, he has all the food in the world, all the money, all the enjoyments, but nobody with him. He's just alone in that place. Will he be happy? He can't be happy. He has to, a person has to have some relationship, somebody to talk to, somebody to serve, somebody to take service from. That's why people, many old people who are alone, why do they get pets? Reason for getting, because people are very difficult, they have so many problems. Pets are always happy to see you, whatever way you are. That's all, because they need to reciprocate. That purpose is there. So it is said that through the miseries of this material world, one has to have a horizontal connection to this material world where the life's needs are important, but the needs are not just the purpose. For example, we need to arrange for our physical needs, our mental needs, but then there also has to be a vertical connection. Just like somebody is in a sea, the waves are coming of birth, old age, disease, all these problems are coming. So if one does not have any support, then he is just going back and forth, and very difficult for him to not drown. But if he has a support, just like if he has a rope from up, then he still will be swayed. He still will move when the wave comes, but he will have an anchor. He will have some place where he can hold on to. That's how one has to have a relationship with Krishna also, because Krishna only can give true bliss and true knowledge. That is very, very important. So Bhagavad Gita, there is one shloka comes which says, Tatkartam buddhi sanyogam labate parva dehikam. So one revives his original consciousness from the previous life. Labate parva dehikam. Yatate chotato bhuya. He endeavors again for perfection. So that living entity, once he comes in connection with devotees, he has to endeavor again. So as long as we have a body which has some strength, some willingness and some capabilities, one should try to serve as much as possible. Serve the Lord, do devotional service. Like King Kulshekar, he also prays, Krishna Tvadiya Pada Pankaja Panjarantam Advaiva me Vishatu Manas Rajahamsa Prana Prayana Samaye Gafavata Pitta Kanta Varodhana Vido Smaran Kutaste. He says that in old age, my Gafavata Pitta, there will be a sound and I cannot be able to serve my body. I cannot even remember Lord Krishna.
So saying prana prayana samaye kapha vata pitta. So let my mind be like a swan which is engaged in the lotus. Swan likes to play with the sticks of the lotus. So Krishna, let my mind be engaged in your lotus feet right now when my body is strong. So that's why one has to do sadhana every day. Sadhana, just like we take a bath, we brush our teeth, otherwise the body has a bad smell. Similarly, sadhana we do for like chanting the holy names, hearing the Bhagavatam, having prasad. So that is like a bath for the consciousness. If we do not have that sadhana, then what happens? Our consciousness also has a bad smell. It has all the anarthas, ankar, krodh, lobh, madmo, matsar. So daily, even Lord Chaitanya, we see when he was at Puri, he used to daily go to Gadadhar Pandit, to the Tota Gopinath temple to hear Bhagavatam. So we could also hear daily, because that is what is the problem of this material world, that one forgets. Manda sumanda mataya. Whatever we learn, whatever highest goals we have, finally we forget. What to speak of our consciousness? If something just lies around, I see even on our terrace, just overnight there is a thin film of dust which forms. You again have to wipe it. Again have to wipe it. Because that is the nature of this material world. It will drag us. Or just like if like a treadmill we walk, so it's always going back. The moment we stop, we are going back. So we should always try to walk forward. So although so many troubles are coming, one has to try to walk on the path of devotional service. But mostly, even though people understand, yes, we need to do devotional service, they say कि कल करेंगे, बाद में करेंगे, कल से चालू करेंगे, कल से मत. संत कबीर दास जी says, काल करे सो आज करे, आज करे सो आज, कल में परलय होते बहुरी करेगा कल. So whatever nice, good thing has to be done tomorrow, do it today. But what today's people say? आज करे सो काल कर, काल करे सो परसों. अभी करके क्या करेगा? अभी तो जीना है बरसों. So that is the procrastination of people. People try to procrastinate. They say that this is कल युग. कल युग मतलब कल. आज युग होता तो आज करते. हमारा युग का नाम क्या है? कल युग. So people try to procrastinate, but that should not be the case. When we like the temple is said to be like a hospital, and Gurudev is the doctor, and the medicine is the holy name. And that holy name, like even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, "Enechi aushadhi maya nashi baro lagi." So Harinama Mahamantra Lauka Bhimani. This holy name is the medicine, and one should really take it to cleanse one's consciousness so that the consciousness remains steady. And then there is a diet. Prasad we need to take, and there is pathe to avoid some things, avoid bad association, avoid all the intoxication, non-vegetarian things. Because that is the path, just like in Ayurvedic medicine, to do and to not to do. Chanakya Pandit has a very meaningful shloka in this case. He says, Teja durjana samsargam, bhaja sadhu samagamam, kuru punyam ahoratram, smara nityam nityatam. So he's saying that always avoid the wrong association, have good association, and always think about the temporariness of this material world. Smara nityam anityatam. Ramanujacharya, one of the acharyas from the South India, he was asking Varadraj once that in my old age, suppose a devotee or anyone who is doing bhakti not able to remember you, so what is the gati for him? So Varadraj from Kanjipuram, he quotes this shloka. He says, Yadi vatadi doshena mad bhakto mam nacha smare. Due to the problems of vata, Ayurveda says at the end of life, vata increases a lot. Yadi vatadi doshena mad bhakto mam, he cannot remember me, mam nacha smare, aham smarami. He's saying, aham smarami mad bhakta, nayami paramam gati. I take that devotee back home, back to Godhead. So, a devotee near the point of death, he may be passing stool and urine, he may be lying on a bed and no one to take care of him. But Krishna says, I remember him. I remember his devotional service. So it is very important for us to do our homework and practice the sadhana in this material world and go back home, back to Godhead. So that's how one gets gradually detached from Maya. So in this verse, Brahmaji is telling Narad Muni that see everything in relation to Krishna. That is very important. And the purpose for this material world, for which this material world is created, is to go back home, back to that cloud. Just like sun is covered by the cloud, and the persons below the cloud cannot see the sun. So to see the sun, one has to come from the cloud.
So we in this material world, we are caught up in this building, motor gadi and all that. The glitter of this material world, we have the horizontal connections, all our friends, relatives, office, all the problems. But the vertical connection is very, very important. So I'll end over here. If there are any questions, 5 minutes still remaining. So thank you very much for your kind and patient attention. Hare Krishna. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय.